attracting the best people to your business, your construction business. And when we say people, we're talking about tradespeople, we're talking about admin, bookkeepers, project managers, whatever the role is, this strategy works across the board. Now, it can be a real challenge bringing on people to your business, but it's absolutely essential. If you want to scale, you can't do that on your own. You do need to bring people in order to scale your business and become more profitable. And it's interesting, I just had a podcast with Charlie Mullins, the owner of Pimlico Plumbing. He just sold his business for 140 million. Before he sold it, he was turning over about 50 million a year. So you can imagine the amount of staff he had. He had hundreds of staff that worked for him, probably thousands over the course of his 40-year career. If you haven't seen that podcast, make sure you check that out or watch the YouTube video on it. It's really, really insightful, actually. But what was interesting, why I mentioned that, is because Charlie Mullins said that one of the best things about business is people. But then he said, but also one of the worst things about business is people. And I can really relate to those sentiments. Maybe you can. I'm sure you've had some people on board hired in the past and you think, oh, this person is absolutely fantastic. They're saving me a lot of time. They're making me a lot of money. I couldn't do without them. We've all had people like that. And then all of a sudden we get someone else on board and we think, well, what a disaster. I wish I could just get rid of that person. They're an absolute nightmare. Wish I'd never crossed their path. Complete waste of time and money. So we've all experienced that and we know the pain of it. And maybe because of that pain, you've decided that you can't scale your business. And I hear this all the time, the mindset of, I can't scale because there's just no one out there. There's no decent tradespeople out there. So I can't scale my business. I'm going to stay as I am. And I understand that. I understand the pain of that. When I was scaling my construction business, I had a lot of pain as I was doing it. I had a project manager that come on board that stole a £500,000 contract off me. Another one stole £10,000 off of me. And I had a marketing executive that come in on her first day. She was completely drunk and had to be sacked at the end of the day. So I've really had my fair share of pain when it comes to hiring people in the past. So you might think, well, why am I going to listen to you then, Greg, if you've had that pain? Well, one thing I did was at the peak of our growth, we brought on a recruitment specialist, a HR specialist, and we got some real insightful tips about what we were doing wrong. And what I've done with those tips and the things I've learned over the years is I've put that into a strategy that we're applying in Mastermind with really, really good results. And I just want to run through briefly what that strategy is to give you a broad outline. So maybe you've downloaded the workbook already, but let me just show you what that strategy is on my iPads. So the strategy in order to bring on the best people, I call it HIRE, the acronym HIRE, HIRE, and that stands for Harmony, Interest, Re-interview, and Entice. So I'll explain all these terms, what they mean, but harmony, we're talking about bringing the right person on board that's going to be in harmony with you, the job that you want done, and the culture of the business. So that's what we're talking about with harmony. Interest is we want to pique the person's interest to even apply for the job advert. Re-interview, why do we say re-interview instead of interview? Well, an interview is a multi-step process and it involves re-interviewing over and over, and we'll talk about that briefly. And then entice is there because when it comes to offering someone a role, we need to make sure we sell the role to them. We've got to entice them to come and work for your business. So let's just quickly run through this workbook and some of the stages that were involved with this. So let's talk about harmony first of all. Why is harmony so important? Well, maybe you've brought people on board, you've been really busy in the past and you're so busy you just think, I just need anyone to come and fulfill this role. I just got to get bums on seats, and you end up just filling the role with the wrong type of person. And I've been guilty of that in the past, just trying to keep up with demand. But it's really short-sighted thinking that, because when you do that, it's very rare that it works out well. So you want to make sure that before you even offer out a job role, you want to think about what is the role that I'm looking for. And I would go through some of these 4 steps here. You want to think about, first of all, what is the exact role? Do a little bit of a mission statement of the role it is that you're looking for. What have they got to carry out for you? I would think about the outcomes that you're looking for from that person. So there might be specific outcomes. For example, if you had a project manager, the outcomes might be, I need you to invoice £50,000 of work a month, or I need you to undertake 5 projects at a time, whatever that's going to be. So think about the specific outcomes that you're looking for. Think about the competencies, the minimum competencies that you need in that role. Maybe they need to understand Word and Excel. Maybe they need to drive. Think about all those competencies. You might want to be a little bit flexible with the competencies because sometimes if you get the right person on board, you can train them up in these things. But think about that. That's quite important. And then you want to, most importantly, you want to think about the cultural fit of your business. What type of company are you? Are you a flexible company? Are you really focused on quality? Whatever it is, whatever the cultural fit is of your business, it will be different for everyone. Think about the cultural fit too. And once you've written out this harmony piece, what you'll notice in the workbook is you've got a score. And really, when you're interviewing people, you might just want to refer back to this after you've interviewed someone and just think, how did they score in this? Just to see if they are a cultural fit or not. Because some people can look absolutely brilliant on paper, but actually when you come to whether they harmonise with your specific company, they might just not work. It might not be a good fit. So that's step number one. We've got a part of the hire process, make sure you understand clearly what the role is and that the person harmonises with that role. The second step is I for interest. We've got to pique their interest. So how do we do that? Well, think about the job advert that you're putting out there. Now, you might put the job advert out over Facebook, over Instagram. It might go out on your website. You might use sites like Indeed, Monster, or all the different ones that are out there. And obviously there's hundreds of job adverts that are going out at any point. So what is going to make your job advert stand out amongst others? Well, you really need to think about how you entice and pique someone's interest with this job advert out. Someone in my mastermind did this really well recently. He was looking for a QS role and he just wrote up such a good job advert. He wrote up about the business, what they were doing, some exciting things that they were working on and what their plans were over the coming year or so. But then the job advert was really enticing too. He was very clear about what the role was, but he listed benefits, things like flexible working, gym membership, cycle to work schemes, little things like that, just small things. But because he listed them all out, it looked like massive benefits to the potential candidate, and it wasn't really going to cost him that much to deliver that. So think about that when you're writing the job advert out, and we've got some examples here of what you might want to include in that. So that's the job advert. The second thing you need to think about as part of the hire strategy is the interview process, or as we say here, the re-interview. So the interview process doesn't want to be just a single, sometimes it's just to meet them down the cafe and offer them a job. You want to make sure you're doing multiple interviews, and I would potentially do a telephone interview first and just get some broad understanding of who this person is. So we've got some examples here in this sheet. And once you've done the telephone interview, you then move to formal interview if you think they're worth it. So that way you're not spending hours interviewing people that aren't suitable. Do the telephone interview first. If they're no good, get rid of them. If they are good, get them on the formal interview. And we've just got some example questions here that you might want to be using on the formal interview, which just draws them out a little bit more. Also part of the interview process, and this really gets missed, is making sure you find the references of people they've worked for previously. And any decent candidate should be able to offer you references from previous employers. If they had a fallout of their last employer, maybe it's not them, but maybe they can offer you one before. But really there'll be red flags raised if a candidate can't offer you references. So make sure you try and get these references, and there's potential questions here that you could ask the referees to see how they found that person. The referees sometimes won't answer all these questions, so it can be a little bit difficult, but if you can, ask it and you might get the right answers back. The last part of the hire process we said was entice. So how do you entice people to your business? As we said, there's tons of people out there, and there's also tons of work out there for people at the moment. So you've got to make sure you sell your business. You've got to sell your company. Why should they come and work for you specifically? So I often focus on 4 areas of this. How does your company fit them? Maybe culturally fit them. How does it offer them freedom? How does it offer them fortune, or what's the monetary benefits to them, bonuses and things? And how does it offer them fun? And I think if you cover these 4 areas when you're selling your business to the person, then you've got much more chance of them saying yes to you rather than someone else. So they're the four areas that you really want to think about as part of the hire process: harmony, pique their interest, re-interview, and entice. If you can do that, you're going to have much more chance of bringing on the right people to your business. This is something we look at all the time with our mastermind clients. We are constantly on the lookout for recruitment. Recruitment never ends because the businesses in my mastermind are scaling rapidly. So we're literally week by week, we're using some real nice plug and play strategies that we've got, and we've got this really down to a fine art. So it works really well. If you'd like to talk about how we can help you in Mastermind, then make sure you click on the link or comment, and we'll get you set up for a phone call to see how we can scale your business. But I hope that helps you to think about how to hire the best, find and attract the best people for your company.